bodacious bouquet.
They are very pretty. My guy likes to drop off flowers randomly, generally when I'm feeling like hell.
He's pretty consistent, though.
Well, honestly, with my gut and and my joint problems, I feel like hell a lot. So I'm scheduled for the lovely CT coming up and then a colonoscopy. Oh. So, oh well. I mean, you would think that if I was going to feel this crappy, pun intended,
yes,
that I would lose weight.
Yeah,
but no. Yeah, I'm not getting that glorious side effect of feeling like hell.
And that's a cruel thing.
I know.
Colleen.
No, it is not. It is not good at all. So hopefully we have something fun to giggle about. Because even with all this, I've been getting stuff done, and there's been sales on the website, and my garden's looking good. So I mean, other than the fact that my gut's rebelling, I'm in a pretty good mood.
Good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully you are too.
I am. Mm-hmm. I am in a good mood. It's a beautiful time of year, and so yeah. Do you remember? God, this has been probably 2 years ago now. Mm-hmm. When I had found that radish that looked like a butt.
Oh, it was an adorable little.
I mean, it looked like a woman's sort of half of a torso with a butt crack. Well, got another rude radish. And this one is more penis-like produce, if you will. This one grew over in, this just cracks me up. This one was found in England, and he's a retired accountant, Richard Kemble Cook. I don't know why all Brits have two last names, but it's cute. Anyway, Richard Kemble Cook has been growing vegetables and just having a riot. And in his retirement, and so he got this penis radish, right? And we'll put the link up, and you'll be able to see it. But he takes it to his wife. He's all pleased because it's like, ha, 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 because it's entertaining, right? And she's like, well, it's kind of small. And he said, wait a minute, it's like 4 inches for a radish. That's awesome. And he's really put out that she's evaluating it like penis size. And he's like, it's a radish. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a carrot and it was tiny, I could see the comment. But radishes are not particularly large. They're not well-endowed vegetables.
No, they're not.
My sister, and maybe we may have posted this before, but she sent me a picture. Eons ago, because my nephew's in his 20s now, and he was probably like 3 or 4 at the time. She walks out and she looks in her mulch, and there is the world's most perfect penis fungi.
Really?
It is the best. I'll have to snap a picture and send it to Megan. And she is just, because, they have a lot of mulch. They live in a wooded area. There's fungus.
Yeah.
And generally the kid liked to get his little hockey stick out and smack him. And she just simply had to wait until she snapped a picture before he could go out and smack that morning's crop of fungus, because it is the most perfect penis shaped fungus ever with balls.
Really? The whole thing?
The whole thing.
That's impressive.
It's circumcised.
Well, then.
It's that good.
Okay, weekly sex doll story.
Oh, okay.
Which has me asking, quite honestly, is everything effing automated now? Because this reminds me of those. Have you seen the Carvana commercials?
I don't watch regular TV anymore. I haven't seen commercials forever. Which means I've seen no political ads, and my life is better. Okay, and I can see how that would be. I guess my point is Carvana, it's this new way to buy a car. They have like car vending machines. It's like this whole online thing. Then you go pick it up at what they call a car vending machine. Well, this is a sex doll vending machine in China. And a guy was caught on CCTV breaking in. First, it looks like he's just a shopper. But then he goes and he breaks in, and there's this whole video. How big is this machine? I mean, how many dolls could you put in it? I'm very confused.
It doesn't say how many.
Because, we've got about a 5 foot 1, 2 inch, doll at one of the stores. We sold one. We have another one of this doll, and it's, I don't know, a couple grand or something like that. And and Tara was just looking at another company's dolls, and they're, bringing them out, and we're trying to keep them in the, non-zillion dollar range.
Right. You're not going to get the $15,000
No. These ones probably going to run between 1 and 2, maybe a little bit more. I'm not sure. I mean, there's a certain amount of money that's just going to have to be spent on something like this.
Yes.
But I'm trying to figure out how to put this thing in a vending machine.
They're big. I mean, this is an unmanned entire sex shop. That's so everything is automated.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So yeah,
I looked into that, but nobody, you know how you can like go and see, you can go to the airport and you have those vending machines and stuff like that. I looked into that, and several companies turned me down. They would not lease their products to me.
Fuckers.
Yeah.
So anyway, the video is hysterically funny. It has gone viral, and the police are in fact investigating because he does in fact make off with one.
Oh, that's going to be thousands of dollars worth of damage versus the damn doll.
Oh yeah, yeah. And these weren't. It doesn't sound like these were the real high end expensive ones, but still,
yeah,
they're expensive. So I really think that we need a new word for prolific. What's the word I want? Ubiquitous. Ubiquitous doesn't even begin to come close. It needs to be like to the 10th for Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. Okay. Like ubiquity just doesn't even. Okay. And just so you know, Kanye just became the creative director for the Pornhub Awards. Okay. Because he's a big fan. So first thing they do is give him a lifetime membership. And by the way, they asked him, hey, now that you have daughters, what's the deal? He goes, I still like porn. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's fine. Okay. So that's, in other words, he's a rather ordinary individual there.
What? Yeah. Yes. So they had their first ever sexy award, show, and he was the producer. He performed there. He designed all the presenters and performers' wardrobes. He even designed the trophies, which was a phallic statuette. And So,
Gene Simmons from Kiss is the one that owns the Adult Video News Awards. He's owned it for years.
Has he really?
Mm-hmm.
The AVAs?
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said which is just, once again, I know I've mentioned this before, but attending those with your brother is one of the funniest things in the whole world. And then we're sitting with this one company, Legend Video, by the way, it still makes movies, not as many, but they're great movies. But I'm sitting at the table with the owner, Bruce, in which his company is up for Best Anal Themed Feature, because that's when they used to have, a separate thing. And it has been probably a couple of decades. It's still one of the most surreal experiences of my life. I mean, this is my job. That still sticks out as slightly out of the ordinary.
And that's not an easy thing to have happen for you.
No, it still ranks up there as well. Like, okay, that's just entertaining.
Okay, I did not know that Gene Simmons owned the AVAs, but can I just say one thing that I did not know about him is that he's Israeli.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea. Mm-hmm. Well, and he's actually, I guess, kind of from there. I thought that was fascinating. I just didn't know. It's just kind of one of those things. Okay. This sounds like it's going to be so much more salacious than it actually is. Why women are dirtier in bed?
Then what?
Well,
I don't know.
Than men.
Okay.
There's a new study, and basically it's about washing your sheets. And there were 2,000 people surveyed, and millennial men wash their sheets every 2 weeks, while their counterparts, females, once a month. And 61% of women said they prefer sleeping naked, compared to 39% of the males who responded. And they just were completely and totally surprised with the results. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, I certainly don't. I probably don't change my sheets as much as I should, but it's certainly more than once a month.
Me too.
Yeah. And I have to admit, I'm a little baffled by that. It goes against every stereotype one has about maintenance and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Unless the millennial guys are just
fastidious.
Unless you're just masturbating that much that they don't want to.
I didn't think of that.
That they don't feel like rolling over into the crusty cum pile.
Which,
I mean, it's going through there.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I certainly agree with the whole sleeping in the nude thing. I mean, having clothing wrapped. It's the one. I love travel, but it's the one thing I dislike about travel, because if I'm with other people other than boyfriend, then you have to wear something, and it's just like, which is one of the reasons I own pajamas, because I keep forgetting to bring them, which means I always have to run out to the nearest Target and get myself some jammies.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's and yeah, I get it. I'm with you. So, speaking of clothes, do you remember a couple weeks ago where the guy accidentally texted a picture to his mom of a shirt that she had given him that he thought she lost it, or he thought he lost it. He found it, so he took a picture of his girlfriend holding up the shirt, and you could see that the bondage stuff, and it went viral on Twitter. Well, we got something else, but this one's just as good, or if not better. And so this guy named Dylan Heggie texted his mom for advice after he got a sty. And I just got done with one. I don't know if you saw that one that I had, but it was a month. I mean, that thing was
so uncomfortable.
Oh, they hurt. They're ugly. They're disgusting. And he voice texted, and it went as STI to his mother. Okay. And he tried to, there was this rather awkward exchange. And she's like, "What have you got?" And she's like, is it on your willy or your testicles? I mean, it goes back and forth. And of course, Brits would say it that way, Is it on your dick or your balls? You could tell that would be the American. God knows what the Australians would say. But I mean, it finally goes back and forth. And the whole thing was so damn funny. It went viral on Twitter.
That would, I don't think there's anyone, regardless of whether or not it's something like that doesn't have a conversation with their parent in which you're like, there's a moment when you're like, one of us has no idea what the other person is talking about. I mean, it is hilarious,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you're just, and you're trying to figure out, am I using the right words? They sound right in my head, but someone's not understanding, or like, I need more words, or explain the pronoun. But this would just be, if my mother could text better than she does, I can't imagine that this would be hilarious.
Well, I constantly use voice texting, and I don't. It's a bad habit that I don't check it, and I send it out. And my most recent one, and I don't know if I told you about this, but this was pretty funny. We bought some plants at a flea market up by our cabin, and then Carl promptly forgot to bring them home. So it got really hot, and so I texted my neighbors up there, and I said, "Hey, so sorry. Would you be willing to stop by, Carl?" I kind of told him the story, and I said, "Would you be willing to water these hostas?" And 20 minutes later, I get this text back that says, "Sure, I'll water the hostages." The hostages.
Because you know what's going on. The person knows what you're trying to say.
Oh yeah.
I mean, sometimes you're like,
and I thought, oh shit, I hope the NSA isn't listening. I'm like, oh fuck, the FBI is going to show up.
Water the hostages. That's
isn't that great?
That's effing brilliant.
Isn't that hilarious?
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was my fave. That was the best one I've had in a while.
I've always been surprised when sometimes when I'm typing something and then it will autocorrect to dick, and I'm like, how in this sentence is dick appropriate? I mean, it doesn't make it. I mean, you would think that there are a lot of sentences that I would text where the word dick would be appropriate.
Oh, for sure.
But it shows up more often than not. And I'm like, it just makes me giggle.
I try to text fuck, and I have to type it out every single time. It's like, I thought that your iPhone learns and realizes, no, that's definitely in my repertoire. But no, I'm getting a little frustrated.
No, I
it.
cannot figure out some of the reasons or for that is going through there. And my things are just random missed letters and spaces. And my the other day is like, what is with your texting? Getting reprimanded by the teenager, and I'm like, you don't get to reprimand me on something I paid for.
Ooh, good point.
But I was just giving her shit because I'm like, I don't know, my wrist hurt, I'm tired. Yep. And I figured you would, and it was understandable, if not poorly written, even though.
If you could do something that could help you have better orgasms, would you?
I guess it depends on what that thing is. I mean,
please allow me to tell you that this was a University of Michigan study. And they noted, it starts out, the story says that 91% of men generally reach orgasm while 64% of women do. So 1 in 3 don't, basically. And this was the National Survey of Sex and Behavior. So scientists started trying out this, what is it called? A neuromodulation treatment, which basically entails zapping your ankle, and it travels up your fibia thingy thing, and it gets your genitals rocking and rolling, and through a series of these, which they claim are non-invasive, which are the tibial nerve to the spinal cord and then to the pelvic organs. They call this non-invasive and non-pharmacologic. I think getting zapped, I would maybe contest that a little bit. But 12 30-minute sessions, and 8 of 9 said that their sex lives improved. Better sex drive, better orgasms.
Oh, in other words, they're just stimulating the nerves. Maybe they weren't being used, and so they lost it. And now it's been stimulated, and they figured it out.
Okay.
I mean, considering the fact I've had nerve pain test, stuff. So I think it would be a little uncomfortable. That's an awful lot of zapping, but then again, it's a pretty good outcome.
Have you ever had like ultrasound on your ankle though? I guess this isn't the same thing. I mean, ultrasound can be extremely painful, I think, right on the bone, because you've got all that stimulation going in there, but the actual just zapping, not too bad, I don't think. Now, I would like to preface this next story by saying that Fantasy Gifts gets a pass on this because you are a store that sells sex stuff, right? That said, Halloween gets slammed a lot which is coming up here, because most costumes for women are just slut stuff. They're not really
it's sexy,
costumes.
everything. I mean, really, the other day, we don't sell it anymore because all the pop-up stores have it and stuff like that. And I would try and find things that made sense. You got fantasies. I mean, I get the nurse and certain things and the sexy cop and stuff like that. People have fantasy about that. I don't understand, like, sexy pizza. And there's, it's just, or there's just certain things that you're like, how is this sex? I don't understand,
Yeah.
It's going through there. And in fact, it's really because we're trying to figure out what to put in the window. And I'm like, because we're not really doing costumes anymore. So it's going through there.
Yeah. Well, that was just sort of my setup. The actual story is about Oktoberfest. And Oktoberfest has started to get that rap as well because of all the Bavarian.
Oh, the dirndls and the boobs and the
shorts and the whatever.
Yeah, the little dresses and stuff like that.
Well, a resident of Munich, Franz Thalhammer is probably how you say it. You got to get something where it sounds like he's like, it looks like porn dresses, short, low cut, and cheap material. They don't do the dirndls at all justice. And so Austrians are getting kind of pissed. Do you realize, though, 6.2 million people attended Oktoberfest last year, 7.5 million 1-liter glasses of beer.
I have, in fact, attended Oktoberfest.
And?
It is a effing blast.
Really?
Yeah. Young, I can drink a lot of beer. We were at Hofbrauhaus, which is where I swear all the Aussies and Kiwis go. And then across the haze of beer in this huge, huge tent, I see the California state flag. And somehow I get across this massive room. I think I walked across the table, so I'm not sure.
Unclear. Okay.
And unclear. But it was just fellow Americans. And they're like, a Californian? I'm like, Minnesota. And they're like, close enough. And we had some beers. And then I got back to the place. And then I am with a busload of Australians. Now, generally.
Which would be fun.
Yeah. Oh, God, they were a blast. I had to put me in front and my friend in the back, and I made everyone hold hands like they were in kindergarten. And I got them all the way back to the bus so they didn't have to find their way back.
You're the border Colleen.
Yeah, I am.
You heard people.
I got them. I got the drunk Australians back on the bus.
Good for you. Mm-hmm. That's a public service if I ever heard one. Mm-hmm. This is fine. It's holistic and once again non-pharmacological or invasive, but
granite in your hoo-ha?
No.
Okay.
It's a t-shirt that makes you look like you have bigger boobs than you do. And it's available on Redbubble. It's gone viral, and it's this weird thing with these. It's got an illusion, literally, and it's a grid of gray squares across your chest with the lines that make your boobs look big. And then if you turn sideways, though, the truth will come out either way. So there's this whole Reddit thread about guys being pissed off about pictures being taken in it, and then they meet the girl and there's no boobs.
And I wonder if you could put a logo on top of that, because we do have Fantasy Gifts and the Great Northern Sexcast does have a Redbubble page. So if you need anything with any of our logos on it, and the logos,
our logo's pretty cute,
and the logos have been updated, and but I'm going to have to look that way. These suckers don't need to be any bigger than they are.
No, they're good.
No,
You're good.
no, I'm good on the boob department.
You really
I discovered the other day that it was actually the Italian side of my family that I got the boobs from.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thanks, Grandma Bertino. So a great, so amazing things. I mean, my love of beer, my ability to bake chocolate chip cookies, my glorious clear skin, and all that German side of the family. But the boobs and the teeth and the color of the skin, Italian side of the family. So I am the lovely, perfect merger.
Perfect
of the best of them.
And yes, God love ya. I always thought it was so funny because my fiance is he's got a Swedish last name, and his father was like 100%. But he's very dark complected. And when I first met him, I was like, so I'm kind of confused, Well, I guess his mom's side is Black Irish, and he's got that whole dark, thing. But it's just really confusing. But even those two things, you don't normally think someone would be as dark as he is. But he's kind of on the swarthy side. Speaking of that, I don't know. This is gross. This is upsetting.
Okay, so
celebrity lookalike sperm banks.
Oh Jesus! Are you serious?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I can say. People know this. I looked into that when I decided to become a parent. And then I realized that the whole frozen daddy thing, the possibility doing it my way was the possibility of a multiple birth was too much, and I went nope. But it was part of the path I had to go to because my daughter wasn't born yet, and blah blah blah. But I remember looking through the I got profiles and I was looking through them, and I'm like, it was just. It became weird. I mean, it was very strange, but I can't say that that at any point did I say I want someone who looks like Sean Connery or something. Celebrity.
Well, this one is an LA surprise clinic that is the only one that has a classification that says these people look somewhat like and they will put 2 to 3 on there. The most requested faces are Johnny Depp,
I was about to say
Prince Harry, Leonardo DiCaprio, but actually Ben Affleck is really high up there. And they said at any one time, the company has 500 to 600 anonymous donors who are each assigned 2 to 3 celebrities that they resemble to help clients imagine what they could look like. But here's the weird thing. And this is actually, this article is pretty worth reading, but did you know that the sperm, how much it sells for per vial?
Well, I know what it sold for 20 years ago when I was looking into it.
$912. Does that sound right?
It wasn't quite that much, but yeah,
seasonally adjusted.
Yeah. But it was. I looked at that and said, okay, and then you got to try, and it's like, oh, they're not cheap. No.
Yeah, but I mean, to me though, if you're trying to have a kid, that doesn't seem expensive.
No, it doesn't. And then of course, and if you want to have kids at the same time, you have to buy, like, I want all of it, so that I can have, possibly have siblings with the same thing, and they have characters and stuff like that. There's a lot of things to, think about, and how many times has been used? Is this person donated? And you just there's just so many people out there that are related to each other. And, there was a whole bunch of stuff I looked into. I said, multiple births, all this other stuff. And I went, oh, that was more than my brain could deal with. But yeah, you gotta, when you decide you want to become a parent, you gotta look at all the options.
No, I mean, I totally get it. I do think that this is why I thought the article was so interesting. I thought it was interesting because the caveats about saying that, like even Matt Damon's kid might not look like Matt Damon.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get.
You don't know which characteristics you're going to get. I'm trying to remember whether or not they had that who do you think you look like thing. Either for me, even for like what I was looking at. Was it a website at the time? Because it was quite a number of years ago. I can't remember exactly how it worked. I know it wasn't a local place, so it wasn't like I could go in and look through a book. It must have been the early days of website and stuff like that. Probably would be considered completely clunky now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, everything's so much more digital. But do you know that cryogenically frozen sperm stays for like 50 years?
Oh yeah, as long as you don't lose the power.
Yeah.
Hope there's aren't no sperm banks in North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah. California Cryobank, though, is the name of this place. And do you realize that they claim that they have helped create 65 to 75,000 babies? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was one of the things where I was trying to wrap my brain around that. I mean, how many potential siblings would there be for my kid? How would he or she deal with that?
Yeah.
And that was it was a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of strange.
I mean, I think it's awesome because people just can't, someone wants to have a child. Good on them. Because it's the whole thing about wanting a child,
Yeah.
is amazing.
Well, it is. Mm-hmm. And, if they're willing, I mean, I know a couple that's going through some pretty draconian things right now to do it. And it's like, whoa, okay. So this is interesting. We're back in school now, so why not see how couples grade each other? This is interesting.
Okay.
So the survey was conducted by adult retailer Eden Fantasies, asked 1,000 couples to grade their partners, okay? And the overall grade that most people gave each other on average was?
B-.
B.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was, most people were rated well for their kissing ability and sex life, Bs. Making effort with friends and spontaneity saw some real interesting things. But what was funny is the way that way people rated each other and then the way that they saw themselves, which I found somewhat entertaining. Like 76% of respondents think they have improvements to make, like showing up, more PDF and things like that. But girlfriends gave their boyfriends a C for spontaneity, while most of the guys gave themselves 81% or a B+.
Well, because I know this is not going to sound spontaneous, but you need to know, is it spontaneous to go away for the weekend, or is it spontaneous to say, I'll cook dinner? Because there's more or less planning involved, because you don't realize it. You might be able to grab a couple of shirts, throw them in a bag, and go do something, but it doesn't work like, how many things. I mean, I have an event coming up in which there's friends coming in from out of town. And it was only about a 2.5, 3 week notice that we decided to put this thing together.
Cool.
And he's able to make it. I bet you anything, if it wasn't the dad, it would have been much more difficult for someone to make plans. I think it's a lot more difficult for women to be spontaneous because for the most part, the way that the U.S. is set up, we're juggling more things that need to be done.
Yeah.
What's going through there.
Yeah.
And so I can see why you just like, well, hell, I said, I did this. You're like, yeah, but then I had to do this, and this so that I could do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, whenever one of us, something comes up and we can't do the podcast on a regular scheduled time, we're not just juggling one thing. And I know, and we've been really good do that, but it's, for other folks, it's been, okay, yeah, I'm free then. I mean, it just... Or getting together with my friends has been like, I've got three groups of friends I'm getting together with. The group of friends that was mostly guys, I got something together in like 3 days. One of the women took us almost a week and a half to organize, and the other group of women, I think we still don't have a date that the 5 of us can get free.
That's, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Spontaneity does not work that well.
No, not unless they're single women in their 20s with no children. Yeah. And possibly no dogs. Mm-hmm. Cat people a lot more, footloose and fancy free. But yeah, I mean, it's a good article. We'll put it up on Great Northern Sex Cast Facebook page. Pretty good. And okay, this next story really, I think, has a lot of tentacles here. So we've had the Me Too movement this year. We've seen people get obliterated from movies, like Kevin Spacey got literally replaced because of his whole thing that came out. Well, the new Predator movie, same thing. They
made a new Predator movie?
Yeah.
What was wrong with the old Predator movie?
Unclear. But, that's what Hollywood does. Let's make Superman. Let's make another Superman.
I have to admit, there's A Star Is Born. It's coming out with Lady Gaga and, oh, geez, totally hot dude. But I'm actually looking forward to that because I think that's a movie that you can update. There's newer things about it that you can do, and I think it works well to have that movie for a generation. That story's really, it's going through there, and you can update it. A sci-fi, I don't understand. The Terminator was
Predator.
Predator. Yeah, well, it has some of the same people in it. Yeah. I don't understand that one.
No, I mean, I'm sorry, but the comic things, they keep remaking the same damn movies. Like, they lost me after, like, the fourth Batman. I'm like, okay, enough.
Yeah, there's the bad guy and then the evil guy and a bunch of them, and then the superhero comes in and
big
and
toys, car crashes. That's it.
And special effects.
Right. Yeah. Well, so Predator.
Bradley Cooper. Okay, I better know.
He's a super hot guy.
Yeah, super hot guy.
And I liked him after he bulked up more. I thought he was hotter then. But anyway, so they did a last minute edit to remove a scene that had a guy. He's 47-year-old former Days of Our Lives and Melrose Place actor Stephen Wilder Striegel. Do you know him? Striegel. Apparently, his character hits on Olivia Munn's character. She learned that he had a 2010 felony conviction for risk of injury to a child and enticing a minor by computer, for which he served 6 months in jail, and he's now a registered sex offender. So they removed that scene when she protested within 24 hours. And they didn't know, the studio didn't catch it, didn't know that it was there. And he said it became clear I was misled by, the actor, and I had to go ahead and, follow the wishes of the cast and what we thought was right because it was a 14-year-old girl. So, I'm all about sex offenders paying the price. The question is,
when are you done? When are you done paying?
And
I mean, but. Yeah, it's just that seems we haven't gotten to that point yet. There's you need to be able to do your time. I mean, Minnesota and the sex offender law, and they constantly and them not being able to be released because there's no place to put them. And it's like, well, what do you do? And then it's like there's like no research into how to keep folks that have done this stuff from not doing it again. We don't have a system set up to do that.
Right.
And so I do believe, I mean, if you believe that going to prison is to rehabilitate and teach, you need to be able to do that. And then we need to decide that once they're out, if they've done that, to come back. But some things really are heinous.
No, they are.
And especially when it's against children. But what do you do?
Well, and here's the thing, and I'm not a scientist, and I do not know off the top of my head the stats, but I've read a lot, and so is pretty much a lot of the public, certainly parents, that, the reoffense rate is incredibly high.
Yeah.
Incredibly high, especially for pedophiles.
So what are we, but is there anything being done for them?
Right. Well, and I mean, are they researching that sort of thing as hard as they are other things that we have problems with, like cancer? I mean, I'm not excusing people.
And then how are we like raising people as a society and treating people, stuff like that? So it's an all-encompassing sort of deal. I don't think there's going to be any answers in the upcoming decades. what's going through there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really, and then it kind of bleeds into some of the stuff where, I mean, we talked about, I think Morgan Freeman, it came up. Somebody said, well, he, was suggestive and inappropriate with me on a movie set 20 years ago. And it's like, oh God, there's got to become some sort of.
Yeah, there's a difference between assault and suggestive and inappropriate.
Yeah.
And where that line is keeps going back, and it's relevant because some things that people brushed off as just inappropriate behavior is assault, but finding that line is going to be very, and no one will ever really agree, because what I consider oh, come on, dude, stop it, is assault to somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question. No question that there's a big, big chasm in perception over certain things in that absolute arena. I'm going to jump ahead and come back to this other story here. I read this the other day, and it was, since we're talking about sex crimes, it's just unbelievable. There was a guy in Oregon that his name was Joshua Horner, and he was convicted in April of last year for sexual abuse of a minor. And he had just begun serving a 50-year prison sentence for this. And the complainant in the trial testified that Horner had threatened to shoot her animals if she went to the police about the molestation, and said she saw him shoot her dog, killing it to make his point. 6 months after the conviction, Horner appealed to the Oregon Innocence Project, and they took his case on. Long story short, they found the dog that the girl testified that he killed alive and with another family, and it's a very distinctive looking dog, and it was proven to have been her dog. There's more than one interesting thing about this. The district attorney went ahead and revisited the case, which, the Innocence Project said, this is an unusual step because it's a lot harder than this normally. But he said the DA in this particular case said, I'm not certain that he did not sexually abuse her, but now I'm not convinced that he did. And once again, that was a reasonable doubt thing. And the reason why this didn't get caught is the first time it didn't come up in discovery. The first they had heard of it was in the trial. And that was the thing where he's like, that's just not true. So there was the reasonable doubt brought on by the testimony. Again, I'm not even saying that this guy was innocent, but there was a lie there. And I get very funny about this. And again, I do not condone sexual molestation, assault, or any other sort of offense. But I do think that we've gotten to a point where people can get very easily wrongfully convicted, accused, and their lives ruined too easily.
Yeah. It just, before it used to be that the accuser's life was ruined by coming forward. And now it's swinging, now they're both sort of ruined. We got to get to the point where the system believe, that there's a thorough investigation by trained people. Because folks, I mean, they're trying to get a task force here in Minnesota to try and figure out how to deal with all this stuff, because of the historical trauma of coming forward doesn't always, help folks, and the marginalized people that are usually attacked aren't believed, and then so you need to be able, and then so the system's set up to really. Just if everything isn't just perfect right away, to just let it go, or to just or ignore things that don't fit the narrative. Yeah. And I think one of the things that would really help is a lot more training in dealing with crimes like this, so you know what's going through there. They are different than other crimes. Yes,
but I also think that there needs to be very clear and specific penalties for lying.
Yeah, in any that would certainly take place in for any case that's going through there. I think a lot of that perjuring yourself. If you can perjure yourself during. I know you can do it when you're under oath, but the the fraud or the perjury, or what it would be before you're actually under oath. If your statements were used to wrongly convince someone, it should almost be automatic that something happens versus having the person come back.
Yeah. I mean, it is in a manner of speaking a form, in my opinion, of obstruction of justice. Because, you're obstructing justice for the person who you are in effect committing an assault on that person. Because, I mean, you've had to call lawyers for different things just related to your business.
Oh yeah. People have lied about what's going on and stuff like that.
It's expensive, and it's just, it's brutal. Okay. Couple other interesting, stories. Gender fluid parents raise son as a person. This story is getting a lot of play in Europe. I don't think I've ever heard of one like it stateside. Louise and Nikki Draven. They are in England, and they both are undergoing, so they were a man and a woman, and they had a child, and they're each undergoing gender reassignment surgeries to become the opposite.
Okay.
And it's pretty extraordinary, the odds, when you think about it, like there. Birth mom Nikki is now called Charlie, and daddy by the child is going to be female to male. And then Louise is going to become male to female. And there you go. And they are going through all these different all the stuff. I mean, they're really doing it biologically. And so they said they're just going to allow him to decide whether, and it is a boy, but he can wear makeup, paint nails, play with dolls. They're just saying, well, we hope that we become our ideal who we want to be by the time he's 10, but we want him to try to make up his mind about what gender he wants to be by that same age. What do you think?
Well, I think most people end up doing, I mean, it's sort of getting there. I mean, not. I've heard stories where people are not referring to their children by the pronouns he or she, and are asking for gender neutral toys or buying both toys and stuff like that, so that you don't just cram someone into a box immediately. And I think it has less to do with letting him choose versus just letting him, her, whatever, know that it's okay for everyone to want to have an easy bake oven, and it's okay for everyone to want to have a Tonka truck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That these are simply things. They're not boy things or girl things. Which is one of the reasons Target got rid of the genderized aisles.
Ah, okay.
It's a doll. It doesn't make any difference. It's if whoever wants to play with the Nerf gun, fine. Whoever wants to play with the Easy Bake Oven, fine. Whoever wants to play with the Barbie, fine. It's going through there. I think, and it's obviously more highlighted in their family because they're aware of being forced into roles.
Yeah.
And they're not going to have their kid do it.
Yeah. But what an interesting coincidence that, I mean, that's extraordinary. So we wish them luck. So finally, I find this last one to be really unnecessary. These vandals broke into a very, very, old and esteemed church called Minster Abbey in, where was it again? In Kent, England. And they made a big giant penis on the ground and put Jesus' name right next to it in this church. And they can't get it out of the carpet. So they're probably going to have to, replace the carpet and everything else. And really, you guys, vandalism, it pisses me off because it's so wrong and so senseless.
And then the idea that you vandalize something with a body part, whether it's male or female, saying that, there's something wrong with his body part. This leads into the fact that people think that something's wrong with the penis or something's wrong with your vulva or think something's wrong with the boobs. They could have easily gone in and vandalized it with a spray painting of a turtle. But they don't do that because it's supposedly more vulgar to put a penis on it.
True.
I'm sorry. It's true. You know, when a lot of times I, mention that, my body's not obscene. Men's bodies are not obscene either.
No.
Well, so doing that, putting penises on things and joking about that, just perpetuates the fact that bodies are wrong. No, they're not. Bodies are awesome.
I just think if you draw anything on some place that belongs to somebody else that's not yours to decorate, don't do it.
Don't do it, yeah.
That's mean. Well, anything else going on before we wrap her up today?
No. We check out the myfantasygifts.com or fantasygiftsmn.com. There's a fall coupon code up. There'll be coupons going up for the site on the Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all that sort of stuff. We're just poking around. You can, I don't know where you're listening to this, but I just clicked on having this distributed through Spotify, so maybe in a couple of weeks we'll know whether or not that's been accepted.
Cool.
That should be about it.
All right. Well, the Great Northern Sexcast returns next week.
Talk to you soon.